Thank you very much, Keith, and thanks, Harriet, for your really passionate contribution to this debate. It's a real pleasure for me to be able to follow you in the debate on sustainable communities, a debate which I think is right at the heart of our ambitions for Britain. It's about how we ensure that families can live and thrive within our cities, our towns, our rural areas, about how we meet people's aspirations for housing, jobs and travel, and how we do all this while handing on our planet in good shape to our children. So it's about how we meet the big challenges facing us as a nation. And as I found in my first week in this job, there are few bigger challenges than global terrorism. Those who sought to bring terror to London and Glasgow were trying to destroy our way of life. But in the face of this terrorist threat, it was the dignity and resilience of the British people that shone through. So I would like to add my words of thanks to those of Gordon and pay tribute to all those men and women who work so tirelessly to keep our transport system both open and secure. Conference. In facing up to the long-term challenges, security, the economy, the environment, no party is better equipped than ours to rise to the task. That doesn't, of course, mean that over the past 10 years we've always got everything right on transport, but I don't think that anybody could deny that real progress has been made. The chronic underinvestment in our transport system is being steadily addressed. Our railways are now on a stable and secure financial footing. 40% more people are on our trains than in 1997, the fastest growing railway in Europe. And rail freight is up 50% over 10 years, taking lorries off our roads. For the first time since the Second World War, we have a fully costed, fully funded plan for growth, allowing our railways to double in size over the next 30 years. And as we go forward, Conference, I will make sure that tickets will be simple, easy to understand, so that people can be confident that they're getting the right ticket at the right price. And Conference, bus use is up for the first time in decades. Coming to this job from the Communities Department, I know how important properly planned bus services are to local people. The granny wanting to visit her daughter in a nearby town, the mother struggling home with bags of shopping, the commuter rushing to get to work on time. And frankly, in too many places, bus services are still not good enough. Many of you will remember the Manchester bus wars of last year's party conference. Traffic ground to a halt by buses nose to tail in wasteful competition. The council powerless to intervene. So, Conference, we have listened and learned, and I pledge to give local councils much stronger powers over buses. And from next April, we can be proud that pensioners and disabled people will have free off-peak bus travel, not just in their own local area, but wherever they travel across England. But rising aspirations, congestion, and climate change mean that we have to do much more. To boost Britain's economy and help hard-pressed commuters, I'm working around the clock to strike a deal on Crossrail, a challenge that has eluded governments for generations, but is now within our grasp. And you'll hear shortly from Yvette on how we're meeting people's aspirations for home ownership and more affordable homes. But if in building these new homes, we are truly to create low-carbon communities, housing and transport must in future be tied much more closely together. And to improve public health and tackle congestion, I will give a greater priority to cycling, including more cycling training for children at school. Conference, I have no doubt that alongside investment in public transport, travel patterns will have to change. I'm not going to duck the tough choices that Rod Eddington set out, because we simply can't build our way out of road congestion. So let's have the debate on road pricing. And as we do, I look to our towns and cities to take the lead, showing how better public transport and measures to reduce congestion can go hand in hand. And conference, I'm working closely with Hillary to ensure that transport, like all other sectors of the economy, plays its full role in tackling climate change. This is a serious challenge which demands a serious government response, which is why I think fewer and fewer people are looking to Cameron's Conservatives for the answers. It's not, of course, that they don't have solutions. It's that they have a different solution for everyone that they're talking to. John Redwood, on the one hand, he calls for more road building. John Gummer, for less. John Redwood backs our aviation industry. John Gummer wants to ground it. And John Redwood calls for huge unfunded tax cuts to increase British competitiveness, while, you guessed it, John Gummer calls for higher taxes. And in the middle of all this confusion stands David Cameron, desperately trying to appeal to everyone, and finding increasingly that he appeals to no one. No clear values, no clear vision for this country's future. Now, we can't afford such lack of leadership over our economic stability, and future generations can't afford it over climate change. So I reject the Tories' false choice that as a nation we have to choose between being either rich and dirty or poor and green. This isn't an either-or question. We don't have to choose between tackling global warming or supporting economic growth. Nicholas Stern showed us that making the right decisions now can cut emissions without damaging the economy, that tackling climate change is the real pro-growth strategy. Now that means giving people the right incentives to make greener choices. It means enabling individuals to choose how to reduce their own carbon footprint, not telling them, as the Tories do, that they can't take cheap breaks, that flying should once again be the preserve of a privileged elite. Conference, we should be proud that Labour is at the forefront of the debate on tackling climate change in Britain, Europe and the world. So, as we consult on the details of a third runway at Heathrow, so vital to Britain's international competitiveness and to British jobs, we're also arguing for a European cap on aviation emissions at levels below where we are today. So if people choose to fly, they pay directly for real reductions in carbon emissions elsewhere. And that's why we're pushing at the UN for Europe's emissions trading scheme to be the basis for a worldwide agreement on aviation. And it's why, too, in Europe we're campaigning for tough mandatory reductions in new car emissions. Later this year, I'm going to be publishing a carbon reduction strategy which sets out the role that transport will play in reducing harmful CO2 emissions. A serious party, a serious government, looking outwards, not inwards, confident that we can create a transport system that helps people meet their economic, social and environmental goals, confident that only a Labour government can meet people's aspirations. Thank you.